Okay. Some people marry down. I married up. She is clearly smarter than me. And so my goal was to get from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Boston, Massachusetts. I left Albuquerque with $6, a full tank of gas, and my 63 Ford Falcon, 3 on the tree, 170. I don't know how it got that, but it had the 170 straight six.
Great engine.
Yep. And like I said, 3 on the tree. Some of you know what that is. Some of you don't know what that is. But that's the stick shift with the gear shift on the steering column. So first is 2U and down. Second is middle and up. Third is straight down. And when you want to go in the other direction, you come back to neutral, go forward. Pull back and go straight up. And that's reverse.
And most people of our generation, we learned to drive sitting on the passenger side while our dads or big brothers there were driving, and they let us do the shifting.
Right. So
That's
we learned.
how we learned.
So we learned. It was weird because we actually learned to shift left-handed because that's the only hand that could reach, and we had to transfer that skill very quickly to the right hand. So okay, let me see. I've got somebody calling me. I'll have to call you back. I am on the radio. Let's see. Let me text this person that I'm going to call him back. So.
That's probably me calling you just to give you a hard time.
No. And he's calling on both phones. I'm going to do this on. Brother Emmanuel, let me give you a call back. I'm on the air right now doing my radio show, unless you want to call in and be one of the guests, 617-282-0685. Other than, I'll give you a call back in about an hour. Okay, so if he wants to call back in, he can. It's Pastor Emmanuel. He has a beautiful church down in Brockton, Massachusetts, where I maintain the sound system for him, and I'm sure he's got an issue. So we'll figure that out when we get down there. So this morning, I confess I have a heavy heart this morning. Well, first of all, we have a whole series of people we need to keep in prayer this morning, starting with Bishop Hamby. He's sick. He's under the weather. Him, myself, and everybody had a huge weekend this past weekend. Lots of events, lots of things that had to get done, including an outside event on Saturday. I had 3 church services on Sunday, 2 of which I preached at, the third of which I was just a guest, and of course running the soundboard, because when I go someplace, that's what I do, and when they know me.
That's right. It's like owning a pickup truck, isn't it,
Yeah, okay, we're going to be fine, Dan's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my Sunday, so yeah, he's down right now. So we're going to keep him in prayer. Do we know if Nira's going to give a call in? I didn't hear from her.
I don't know. I know she has been.
I know she's been dealing with stuff. Let's just put it like that. She's been dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're not trying to put folks' business out in the street other than mine.
Yeah.
Because I don't care myself, I have taught all of my skeletons to dance, so if you want to open that closet, go right ahead. You're going to get a great show.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's just I refuse to be a slave to the past. You cannot blackmail me. You cannot threaten me. I did it, so what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's we're saying it lightheartedly, but there's a lot of truth and wisdom to that. When you are transparent, especially as Christian men, when we're transparent about our failures, we're bulletproof.
And that's the key.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I recall when I was campaigning, when the church had called me to pastor New Bethel, and I was in the transition, where I was interim, and they were considering whether to actually call me to begin with. I did have a phone call from a blast from the past, shall we say, who was not all that enthusiastic about me take this new path in my life based on the paths that I had been walking. And their response was, what if I, call these people and tell them what I know about you? And my, of course, response was to give them the phone number and the contact information and say, they're best reached between this and that hour. And that was the end of that. We have another caller on the air.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, hold it. We have to do our alma mater. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Sound Travelers is pleased to present to some and introduce to others. Nearer, my God, to thee. Hi, Chaplain, how are you doing this morning?
I am well. I slept good. There's no medical emergencies in the home today, so we are good.
So
that's awesome.
As I started to say, I come with a heavy heart. I'm always the one that's the comic relief in these situations. But today I have a heavy heart, and I actually want to discuss over the course of the next 45, 50 minutes, some odd, the topic of when children disappoint. When children disappoint, or when they disappoint. You've done everything you can do, and you're disappointed. How do you handle that? The trauma. I recall one time I was asked to be a speaker at a race relations forum. They held it at my church, and I think that's why they asked me to speak, because they couldn't pay me. So, let's just give him a microphone, and that'll be payment enough. So I started out the conversation with, I said, well, I appreciate the fact that I've been asked to speak on race relations. And I started off with, when I was 5 years old, I attended, needless to say, an all-Caucasian school because I was 5 years old living in Bedford, Ohio. And that's what was around there. At 5 years old, a young white kid called me the N-word. And my question to everybody sitting in the audience is, does anybody here have an experience that rivals that? And nobody raised their hand. Nobody said, wanted to say anything. And I said, it's interesting because I'm here to speak about race relations. How can I speak to you about race relations when we have nothing in common? And now the reality of it is, you could have said anything. My question is, do you have an experience that rivals that? I didn't say that same experience. I said that rivals that. So anything that happened that would have been traumatic in your childhood would qualify, because then you would at least have some quote unquote empathy for what I'm about to say and for who I am and how things are. But none of you seem to have that. How are we going to have a conversation concerning race relations? So needless to say, two things happened. A, the room was deadpan silent. And B, I never got invited back to speak. It's a mystery to me as to why.
I'm not surprised, but go ahead.
So my question this morning is, I'm looking for. I don't see it. Did you send it to the Facebook feed? Okay, could you share it with me, please? All right. So my question for this morning is, parents, especially those of us in the mission field, how do we handle family, friends, and children that find themselves or put themselves in situations that don't bode well for us? And is it safe to say, or even fair to say, that these situations don't bode well for us? An example would be the fire and brimstone preacher whose son gets one of the girls in the church pregnant, or the daughter of the pastor who shows up pregnant, or any number of traumatic. Somebody, one of the sons or daughters of the pastor finds themselves incarcerated. How do we handle this? Nira, come on, somebody, say something here.
Well, I can actually give you a personal experience. So I was 17 years old, and I had gotten into a relationship with my soon-to-be husband. I was 18 when we got married, but I was not married yet when we found out we were pregnant. We were engaged, but I recognize now that it was not as consensual as I thought it was. However, at the time, everything seems to be on the up and up between him and I, physically.
When you
but
say...
I was not in a good place spiritually. Okay. I did not know what I was doing. And I came pregnant at 18 years old, and I was not married. My dad was a Baptist preacher at the time. And we decided, we were like, you know what? We're getting married in a month or two, but we need to go ahead and we need to tell both of our parents what has happened. This is the right thing to do. We've already made a choice, but you know what? We need to make it right as much as we can at this point, So we went before my parents privately, and we're like, hey, here's what happened. And I will say, from my perspective as an adult and as a parent now, my parents didn't handle it correctly, or at least what I believe is correctly. And it was extremely traumatizing to me as how they handled it, because they went before the entire church and admitted what I had done.
Admitted what you'd done, or put your business out there?
Well, put my business out there into a congregation that I wasn't even a part of at that point. I had started going to a different church because I was an adult at that point, and let's be honest, the church was dwindling at the time, and I wanted to go somewhere that was thriving. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could be my own person and not, the little bright-eyed, bushy-tailed little girl that had grown up there. And so we had come back, and this was the first Sunday that we had come back to visit, and this is what happened. Which everyone in the church was far more gracious than my family was. Let's just put it that way. Because they all just came up like, hey, we all make mistakes. We still love you. So does Jesus. Moving on. That was literally all that was said, basically. But it was extremely traumatizing to me, the way it was handled. And I can imagine my parents were taken by surprise. I can't imagine it was easy on them and, their beliefs on it at the time. And no, I was the disappointment. I was the one that made the bad choices, and that reflected badly on them. And I get that now as an adult. And it really caused a rift in our relationship for a very long time. And it caused a rift in the relationship between my daughter and her grandparents for a very long time. And that has really caused a lot of struggles in me as a parent myself when my children do things that are not exactly the way I would do them. They're not exactly biblical because, they're kids still. And they're going to make dumb choices that aren't biblical because they don't know better. And the ones that they do know better, they still choose to make choices because we're all human. And I have to handle that. And I always look back to that situation and go, okay, how would I have wanted to be treated in this scenario with as much grace as my Heavenly Father would have given me were He standing right here? And it really changes the way I have to look at them, because I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, they're still kids. And at the end of the day, God looks at me and says, she's still my kid. She screwed up, but she's still my kid. At the end of the day, that's number one. She's still my daughter.
Yep.
So, this is a tough one because two things. First of all, you said you realized it wasn't as consensual as initially you had thought. Are you able to elaborate on that, or does that get us into areas that could get us in trouble or be too graphic?
As ungraphically as possible. Quite simply, I was very manipulated emotionally by my significant other at the time, and I did not know better enough to recognize it at the time.
Okay.
You know, as an adult, as an older woman now, I look back and go, oh man, he absolutely mentally and emotionally took me for a ride, and so my choices at the time were not made in a solid mental state.
Got it. I completely understand. Okay. So, and now it sounds to me like you have taken this particular experience and you've used it in terms of saying, okay, I'm not going to be that person when something goes wrong in around me. I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to remember myself in that position and say, this is what I would have wanted to have happen when that happens. Now, was there ever any doubt that your parents loved you or cared about you, or was there a shunning? Because how many people, especially girls, have been put out of the family?
Very much so. Very much so.
In what respect? In what respect?
Well, it immediately put basically a red letter on me with my family. There was always a disappointment and, dare I say, even disgust in their responses towards me for a while afterwards.
These were good. These were good. These were good Christians and high moral standing people.
Yes.
Okay, continue. I just want that to be clear.
Yep, this was a pastor and pastor's wife of a good church, and, you know, I look back on it. As a kid, I was like, oh, my parents suck, but, you know, everybody says that about their parents when they're kids. And so it was like, okay, you know, but looking back, yeah, my parents, were they perfect? Absolutely not. Were they good parents? Yeah, they were. And, you know, they were good people in and of themselves, traumatized of their own accord, but, you know, so are we all. And so there was very much a disdain. There was a lack of support, which I do contribute to, unfortunately, my first domestic violence marriage, because I knew from very specific things that they said and things that they had insinuated, I was not going to be able to stay with my parents and, you know, continue this pregnancy, continue raising a child by myself. It was very much a shotgun wedding. It was very much, let's just say my father directly quoted, if you made your bed, now you get to lie in it. You know, this is your choice. This is your decision. Now you get to face the consequences of that choice. And it wasn't good.
It also doesn't sound like it was the least bit compassionate.
Very much not so.
And my question, becomes now, Jesus, having confronted the woman caught in the very act of adultery, never approved of her actions.
Yeah.
But he also didn't condemn them. He didn't approve of them. He didn't condemn them. You said the red letter. For those of you who don't get the reference, back in the old town days, the New England town days, if a woman, for some unexplained reason, only a woman, was caught in adultery, she would be required by the elders of the town to wear a or a letter signifying. So whatever your particular crime was, and now I'm going through my memory banks, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't just women with the adultery, but it was whatever crime you had committed. If you stole, you may get an S or something like that. For a period of time, you had to wear a quote unquote letter, a scarlet letter, letting everybody know what your sin was or what your crime was. And obviously a lot of this comes from the folklore and the whole bit. But so this whole idea of you didn't get pregnant by yourself.
Yeah.
And what did he suffer? What did the gentleman suffer?
Not much, because it was my family that really did it. His family was more compassionate, still not, but obviously they did not approve, as they shouldn't have. And unfortunately, they didn't have a good relationship with him at the time anyway. So there really wasn't necessarily a breakdown of relationship, because there already really wasn't one. It didn't get worse, let me say it that way. And there, again, a lack of support. And the comment was made, oh, well, we're surprised he hasn't done this sooner. And that should have been a very large red flag to me.
Yes. Now, you ultimately married this person, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the marriage ended badly, or, or and when I say badly, do I mean like the nuclear, the nuclear test?
Oh, yeah. It went Chernobyl very quickly.
Yeah. Those type of situations almost always are, especially when there's no true love or no true commitment. It's just we have a baby and society is looking at us. What do we do now?
It was not based on biblical standards, nor did it continue that way or ever change to that way. Well,
being based on biblical standards, I'm sorry to tell you, is not a guarantee. One of my other brothers from another mother, he and his wife at the time did everything right, to the point where they were never alone. There was always chaperones. There was no sexual contact before marriage. They both presented themselves on their wedding night as virgins. I wasn't in the room, but I know this because I was part of the chaperoning committee, that whenever they were visiting, or when she was visiting him or he was visiting her, well, actually he never visited her that I know of, but she would come visit him, and I was one of the people that was called to be in the house while they were visiting as a chaperone, just to be sure that they were being chaperoned. So they literally did everything quote unquote the right way, and the marriage still fell apart. So there is no guarantee that following biblical principles, unless both parties are following biblical principles, there's no guarantee that a biblical start of a relationship is going to guarantee that the relationship continues.
That's right. There's more to being equally yoked than just both being Christians.
Oh my God, there's so much more. There's so much more. Equally yoked has a lot to do, has more to do with the overall concept of who's pulling with who, as it does with this whole, we're both Christians, we both believe God and this, that. No, Jesus Christ is both our Lord and Savior. No, those are great start points, no question about it. But if equal, just to be clear, and this is the thing that I want to be very careful as I state, because I can get into trouble. Surprise, surprise. Equally yoked is spiritual, it's sexual, it's financial, it's every aspect of your life. Are you two going to be in sync? Not agreement. See, not agreement, but in sync. Because you can, oh my goodness, I remember so much about couples who when I was counseling, and as I counsel, you get to hear this stuff, and they're married, and they never had a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? They
Yep.
never had a conversation. He's a morning
Who's
person.
talking my stuff out in the street?
Okay? He's a morning person and she's an evening person. Okay? And that's an issue.
Yes, it is.
It's an issue.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he wants to sit and watch football or some particular sporting event, and she wants to spend quality time. And they've never discussed what that means. He is spending quality time. He's just not spending it with you.
Yeah.
Okay? So sorry, I don't mean to blow up your spot, fellas, but that women need to understand that yes, we do. You don't want to spend quality time. Yes, I am spending quality time. You're interrupting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can we
Yeah,
have?
you kind of have.
Yeah. Can we have a discussion about? Can we talk about our relationship? Not when it's 4th and goal to go. Not when it's the it's the final of the national top fuel drags, and you've got the two there sitting on the line, and both have staged, and you want to discuss the future of your relationship. I'm sorry.
I remember my elderly mother being over at the house to visit. While I was married to my first wife. And we were watching the Red Sox about to win the World Series when she stands in front of the TV to scold me about something or other. And she couldn't understand why I picked her 90-pound carcass up and sent it off to the side and said later,
Wow. Wow.
Hey, before we go any further, I have to do 2 shout-outs here real quick. Lovely Linda, who's on her way to Highland Park in Dallas, Texas, wading through the traffic. She listens to us every week very faithfully. And so drive careful out there in the traffic, Linda.
Shout out, Linda.
I have a little prayer warrior, a little tiny tot Latino woman who prays for me every single day, and her name is Sally Oliveri in Wiley, Texas, and I just wanted to say good morning. Good morning, Sally. We appreciate you so much.
Shout out to Sally. Any other shout outs? I'm going to shout out to my big sister, Sheba, who has stepped in and has stepped up and has just become the heart of our family. And boy, did our family need a heart. As you know, we lost our mother. She has stepped in so graciously. So I'm going to give a shout out to my big sister, Sheba.
Hi, Sheba.
Mira, you're up.
Oh, just going to say hi to my friend Lindsay. She listens every week.
There you go. That wasn't so bad. See, we didn't bite. So we started off with this whole idea of children that may disappoint us, but it seems to me that as we delve into it, it's not them that are the disappointed ones. It's us.
Of course not, because they're kids.
Or they're adults in the kid state. Let's be clear about that. Just because they've reached the age of maturity doesn't mean that they've reached maturity for their age.
Right.
Okay.
So my fiance and I actually had a discussion about this over the weekend.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold it. Wait, stop. Before you say anything else, do you mean to tell me that you and your fiance talk? No, sorry.
Yes. Daily.
I couldn't resist that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, we talk about literally everything, and I believe every person that is planning to get married should talk about how you raise children, even if you don't have any, but especially if you do.
Yeah, it would be nice to talk. Yeah,
talk about children.
Yeah,
talk about how you handle disagreements and discipline, how you handle the day-to-day things, because it's the day-to-day things that will kill your marriage.
Yep.
It will bite you in the hiney. So if a couple tells any of you, yeah, we've been dating for a year, and we've never had a fight. We have the perfect relationship.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Red flag. Big old red flag. Because
somebody's lying.
Somebody's lying and somebody's not being real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay? And they make a big deal out of on TV. I've noticed this quietly in the background. One of the few times where TV actually crosses the line, where they actually break the fourth barrier. There was an episode of the not Big Green Rock, Third Rock to the Sun. There's an episode.
I love this show.
It was a great show. John Lithgow was just a comedic genius, and he plays some of the scariest villains you'll ever see on film. Yes, John Lithgow. Excuse me. And he was sitting with his, and I think one of the Saturday Night Live comedians, the one who sat opposite Dan Aykroyd in Weekend Update, Jane Curtin.
Yeah.
And he starts off, and they're sitting on the couch together, and she passes gas loudly. and John character's like, oh my God, our relationship has transitioned. This is great. And she looks at him and goes, I'm glad you enjoyed it because I got another one coming. But it's one of those times when adults realize that, yes, this is real. This is the relationship. Now, granted, you don't want people walking up to you with just, displaying their bodily functions just because. But in a real relationships, just like when you're raising children, doo-doo happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish someone had told me this before, Dan. My life would have been so much different.
Would it really?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to come up with an explanation for what happened, Dan.
Oh,
I don't have one.
I have an explanation, but you don't want to hear it. I sure enough, I can just, oh my God, you don't want to hear it. Let's just move on because I want to keep you as a friend, and I definitely don't want to put your business out there in the street. But
Linda, bail me out.
Yeah, no, it's just quite simple. I can say this quite frankly, and I can mean it from the bottom. You need a slapping. That's your problem. That's your problem. You just need a slapping. That's all. Okay, that's all there is to it. And I get it because sometimes we all just need a slapping. Right now, it's your turn. It's your turn in the barrel because you need a slapping. Okay.
Been there before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what position to take. Yeah, okay. It's every time except Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Because that's your day in the barrel. So hey,
that's right.
I am not explaining that joke. Right. If you do not get it, that's on you. If you get it, then you can call and write. But remember, I didn't say it I am not explaining it.
You know, you know.
If you know, you know. Thank you. If you know, you know. Tuesday's your day in the barrel. That's all I can tell you.
Back to disappointments for a minute. I'll tell you a very quick anecdote about a pastor local to your zip code. Okay. Who is now retired, but had a son. A son and a daughter, but the son was just uncorrectable. They spanked him, they loved him, they did this, they did that, and he would just go right back out and do the same thing over and over and over again. Of course, as he got more into his teens, his rebellion got more and more public, and he started, first getting brought home in squad cars, and then,
That never happened in my neighborhood, by the way. That is a distinctly Caucasian.
Never.
That is the distinctly Caucasian event. I saw that on TV numerous times, and I'm thinking to
all
myself,
the time.
that never, ever, one time happened in our neighborhood. We never heard of any of our own peer and complexion ever being brought home in a squad car. Not
That's
one time.
Right. So they wound up starting to bring them down to downtown.
Anywhere. Come get them.
Yeah. And,
come get them.
Let's put it this way. He got permanently expelled from Lynn Public Schools.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Permanently.
Yeah.
So that being said, the police officer that arrested him most got to be his friend and mentor. They spent that much time in the squad car together. Yes. So winds up in Catholic school, which for this particular Protestant brother of my pastor that I know, his son had to go to Catholic school because that's the only place he'd get an education. And who was his volunteer hockey coach? That same arresting officer. So when my brother gets transferred to Philadelphia, his son says, "Look, I'm going to stay here and go roommate with this guy, this officer, and get my criminal justice degree." And who now is deputy chief of police in a town near you?
Okay.
But that's how we got into law enforcement, was by having it enforced on him.
Well,
So, and he turned out to be a tremendous success.
Let's and I appreciate that, but let's deal with, here you are a pastor, and here you are somebody in prominence, and believe it or not, it seems to be worse within the ministry, because let's face it, Jimmy Carter had a family that Jimmy Carter seemed to be the pick of the litter, shall we say?
Yeah,
in terms
Billy
of
Carter,
in terms of what he was, his Billy got almost as much press as Jimmy, with Billy Beer and just doing all sorts of stuff, and then even the Barack Obama girls, getting themselves in and out of trouble. How, as pastors, do you handle disappointing children? And are you right to be disappointed? I know a person, and I have to keep this as generic as possible. I know a person whose offspring is publicly living a life out of their gender. And this particular person is dedicated to the ministry, dedicating to serving the Lord, is talented, is gifted, and their children, one of their children, is living a life outside of their gender.
I can explain this to you as easily as anyone will understand. You can be raised by the most perfect parents in the world. They can do everything right. They could be Jesus himself. We still have free will, first of all. And frankly, we still have our own path and our own walk and our own mistakes to make to become who we're supposed to be in Christ. But let's face it, we all have the most perfect Father in the world. We all have God as our standard, and we still screw it up every single day. If you have a child, they are going to disappoint you, point blank. They're going to disappoint you. Because the thing about it is, as parents, even the most perfect parents, even the ones that understand that your child has their own free will and their own life and their own calling and their own everything, and you're not trying to mold them to be who you want them to be, even those parents, your child is still going to disappoint you because they're kids.
And interesting that you say that, because I watched an episode of one of these panel talent shows where the little girl was up there and she was scared out of her wits, and one of the judges buzzed her. Mm-hmm. She hadn't said one word. One of the judges buzzed her, and the judge said, "This stops now." Mm-hmm. This person is not going to perform. The mother of this child needs a slapping. Yep. How dare her put her child in this position? And to me, it was like, wow, that was breaking the fourth wall right there, because this was a real situation. She said, she buzzed her, said, "No, this girl is not, no. I am not allowing this to happen." I guess she read the whole scene. Yep. And said, "I'm not allowing this to happen." And then she buzzed the girl, and the other judges like, "No, okay, we're with you on this one." So there is that living through your kids is an issue as well, even in the ministry.
Oh yeah.
Bishop has said numerous times on air, so I'm not telling his business, that his father, being a no-nonsense father, sat him down for a year. He couldn't sing, he couldn't dance, he couldn't preach, he couldn't do, and he better be in service every Sunday. Okay? Where is that type of discipline and that type of, and obviously Bishop turned out well because of the hard line taken by his father. And no, I'm not recounting the offense or anything. I know it, but I'm not recounting it because that's not important. What's important was that there was discipline, there was order in his home, and that order and discipline served him well. But you mentioned the situation where order and discipline doesn't always serve you well, because, like as Dan said, this kid was just a rotter. He was he was not ever going to do anything right until somebody somehow touched him in such a way to break through whatever it was his parents couldn't break through.
Yep. That's right. It's not always about love. It's not always about discipline. It's not always, each person is unique. And, and listen, I say this with the caveat that I don't have any kids myself. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I love them all dearly, and I watch other people, how they handle their kids. Every personality is unique. There's no cookie cutter when it comes to DNA and genetics, because no matter what your DNA is, you're still brought into a very unique environment in the home. If you're the first kid, well, it's great. Well, then the second kid has a slightly different experience, and they're going to reflect that in how they develop, And
we are all...
I know for me, I'm the last of 7, yet I was raised as an only child.
Okay. Yeah, and we all know that.
Kids.
Yeah, we're born in sin and shapen in iniquity. So, so that's not ever going to go away. Nira, give me a call after the broadcast. I need to talk with you about something. It's a biblical question, and if I ask it out on the air, then it will get off topic, and I want to stay on topic. So, but anyway, So we come to find out that we are not supposed to put on our children anything more than what they can bear. Just like we say, God never puts anything on us more than we can bear. Although his gauge, his gauge of what we can bear.
Well,
I mean, Dan, your truck is rated for 80,000 pounds, and how many trucks out there that right now are running at 100 and 120,000 pounds?
Well, if I was driving it,
okay,
I could probably give you a truck number.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
Okay, so putting more honest than we can bear doesn't. We don't get to say what it is. We don't get to say the rating. Okay, God, I can handle 2 arguments, 1 disappointment, and a minor setback today. I don't get to tell the God that.
Okay. And see, our children don't get to tell us that either. Because as a parent, so my example is a worship leader. I was a worship leader in a particular church recently, and I knew one of my musicians was a lot more talented than they gave themselves credit for. They did not have the confidence, and they didn't have the pressure to help them grow either. And so I did put more on them that I knew they could handle, and that's only through the Holy Spirit. I know that. But they did not believe they could handle it, and they pulled it off. And they came back to me like, man, I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, I know. It's the same way with our kids. We as parents have a different vantage point, and we can tell, yeah, our kids can handle this. But realistically, we live in a fallen world. We're all going to have more on us than we can handle. I mean, realistically, my children have way more on them than they ever should have because of the choices of adults around them.
Yeah.
They didn't get a choice in that matter. But they're handling it well, and God has really given them that extra strength to deal with it. And I have to believe that that's for a reason. I have to believe that God understands there's something in it, and He has chosen to allow it in their lives, even though I never would have put them through that. Well, but He is allowing it because there's something that's going to come out of it.
Well, that's the only other joy, or the only other consolation, not joy, but the only other consolation that parents suffer through as parents, to realize that there is a bigger picture. It's not just the moment. It's not just the incident. It's not just the pronouncements. It's not just the headlines. It is the grander picture, the grander, what is, I've got to believe, and again, like I said a couple of times before, with all this doo-doo, there has to be a pony. I've got to believe that, because other than that, I'm going to be one of those people that, puts the revolver in their mouth, or, goes out and does suicide by cop or something, because there's no hope. And it's safe to say that when you get to the place where there's no hope, any number of things can happen. And very few of them are good, unfortunately. Very few of them are good. When the enemy gets in your head with the despair, yeah. Okay? That's what happened to Judas. In my opinion, that's what happened to Judas. Judas had gotten so caught in his own despair that he could not return. He couldn't repent.
Yeah.
Now, we have how much time? Looking at my producer here. We have 4 minutes and 3 people, so I think we can do this. Brother Dan?
Well, with regard to let's call them stretch goals, I vaguely remember having a one-way conversation with Staff Sergeant Perez in boot camp down in Lackland Air Force Base back in the day about this, and he was explaining to me about what I could do, and it was a lot more than what I thought I could do, but he turned out to be right.
Okay.
Anyone who's been in boot camp knows that. That's exactly what it is. Nobody thinks that they can do what they really can do. No, you can't tell me even today that one man can break down a bus door on a Greyhound bus, and yet that situation rose in my life.
And you
back
did.
In 2012.
Yeah.
And I did.
And you did.
Nira?
I would just say that if you are disappointed in your child for whatever reason, your first instinct should be to look at your own expectations.
Okay, that all got garbled. Stop. Who's making all the noise? Stop it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I would say if you are disappointed in your child for whatever reason, your first initial instinct should immediately be to look at your own expectations.
Right. Yeah.
Because our expectations often can be misguided and misplaced, and they can be inaccurate. And so immediately look to, okay, where might I be wrong in this first? And then if it is a legitimate thing, that there is a real disappointment, there's a real mess up here, there needs to be reconciliation, there needs to be something that fixes this situation, go to the Bible, go to your pastor if they're a good one. Go to brothers and sisters of the faith who are legitimately listening to the Holy Spirit. Talk to people. Don't fly off the handle. If it needs to be handled immediately, do something in the moment, but don't be afraid to also ask forgiveness if you do it wrong.
Okay, great.
Your kids are still growing.
I am Pastor Dan Walker, and I have to apologize because I picked the shirt this morning to wear. We're back. The summer is over, so we're back to our formal. I picked the shirt. I know it needs ironing. I didn't have the time to do it. I saw it. It was staring at me in the face all day yesterday. I'm going to wear this shirt. I'm going to wear this shirt. I didn't take it takes me almost 45 minutes to iron a shirt or to steam a shirt because I don't have an iron, but I steam it. I guess we do have an iron. There's no place to set it up. So I apologize for wearing the wrinkled shirt. I know people are seeing it and going, yes, he is getting it. He just didn't have the time to do it. Second, keep Bishop Hamby in prayer. Keep myself in prayer, my family in prayer, and my loved ones in